Oh, fuck, I use this.
Greetings. Am I upside down?
Well, good greetings and beautiful and abundant benevolent blessings to all of you wonderful souls out there. Hello, Etan. How are you doing there today?
Absolutely amazing. Thank you so very much, Kiara. Loving it. Welcome to all of our guests, all the people that are viewing. We are so super grateful for having you here today, listening in on this knowledge and insight. And yeah, really looking forward to getting the session going. How are you doing today, Kiara?
Absolutely fantastic. Thank you. And very, very, very well put. Thank you for being here to our beautiful community at SynerChi Organics Beyond Nutrition right here for you guys. So let's get straight into the content right here today, guys. We're going to try and make this content so powerful, so impactful, and bring you absolute beautiful energy here. What are we talking about today? Well, guess what? Cheers to you all. I don't know if you can see, but that is a cup of coconut milk right there on ice.
One of the healthiest fats you could put in your body, right?
Definitely. So coconut milk is a saturated fat. So we're going to delve right into saturated fat, unsaturated fat, polyunsaturated, transsaturated, trans fatty acids, why these make such a significant difference in your body, what calories you get, how much quantity of oil you should be, fat you should be getting in per day, and what kind of fat you should be eating. So with that being said, right now, before we carry on right here in this content, please remember to hit that thumbs up for us on these algorithms for these videos. That's going to help us share the content right here for you guys. And we're going to bring way more content right here for you guys in the palm of your hands, just absolutely enjoying every last little moment. Etan, right now, speaking about fat, you look freezing. I look like I'm on a beach on a tropical island. I should put that tropical island background on here actually today. But yeah, anyway,
this is actually called the unnatural fat. Stuff like cotton. This is the added layer, external.
Definitely, absolutely, definitely. So
nice and cut.
Obviously, what you're saying is that clothes are a version of keeping us warm, and so is fat. So in today's content, beautiful community, we are speaking about fat and the importance of fat in our bodies, and how much fat we should be using, and what kind of fat we should be incorporating into our everyday living. So let's get on to a question with Etan in the interim before we start the actual content. Etan, could you describe what fat is and what function it has in our bodies, please?
Well, absolutely amazing. Thank you for that. I appreciate it. And that coconut milk you're drinking, Kiara, just yeah, as a form of measure, you get 4 main types of fats, and you mentioned some of them. There's 2 healthy fats and there's 2 unhealthy fats. So the 2 healthy fats are polyunsaturated fats and monounsaturated fats. Those are the types of things that you get from seeds, nuts, vegetables, and obviously fruits in smaller quantities. But you know, going into the fish realm, you could definitely get a source of omegas and essential fatty acids in there. So that's actually what we're talking about there. When we were discussing protein, it had everything to do with omegas and essential fatty acids. yeah, we're switching over to the fatty acid profile of omega-3s and 6s, you know, coming mainly from our polyunsaturated fats, which are very important for us. The polyunsaturated, we have to source from outer realms. Our body can't naturally produce them. And then, yeah, the two, excuse me, unhealthy fats are saturated fats and trans fats. And those you get in animal-based products like red meats, dairies, cheeses, and those are the kinds that cannot be processed in the body. So the body has a way of being efficient and storing it somewhere, somehow. And yeah, incredible things. I definitely believe we'll get into them, Kiara.
Wow, that was mind-blowing. Thank you for that. Straight to the point, straight to the impact, straight to the education and the knowledge. That's absolutely powerful. So what I want to show you guys is actually, where are we with fat? So you get different types of body fats, or body sizes. Let's start off with the body sizes. So you get different types of body sizes. You get somebody that's got a little bit of an extended stomach, a distended stomach. That would mean that there is something that is leaking within the gut and in the body, because your liver that processes your fatty acids isn't processing and cleaning those fats and producing the right bile salts to dissolve the fats in the body so that we can uptake it and use it as caloric energy. So there's a multitude of different considerations, because very high unhealthy fats could cause disease. They could cause obesity. It could cause diabetes. It could cause cholesterol, so on and so forth. So what we have to do is we have to look out for very specific fats, as Etan was saying, groups of fats. So you get your macro groups, which are your saturated and your unsaturated fats. Your saturated fats have a carbon molecule, which basically surrounds the fat molecule and holds that structure together. And that's why at room temperature, you'll find that coconut oil is solid and in a solid state. Whereas unsaturated fats are missing that carbon molecule. Therefore, that at room temperature, the likelihood of that oil being liquid is much higher. So more often than not, you'll see that, as Etan said, your saturated fats come from your meats, your fish, your coconut oils, those kinds of things. But we need to say very much one thing, okay, that not all saturated fats are equal. Why is that? Coconut oil is an extraordinarily healthy saturated fat, and that's why it should be ingested in moderation, because it's easier for the body to absorb. It comes from a plant-based material. It's omega-7, which is actually brain food, and we'll touch on that a little bit later down the road as to why and where fat and glucose release in the body makes a significant difference for brain food and how to keep that brain optimally functioning. So omega-7 is part of that classified group in that saturated fat content, and that's why coconut oil is solid at room temperature and therefore considered a saturated oil, obviously because the saturate is about 66% generally. And yeah, that's very, in fact, even up to 90%. So it's quite important to know that. But fat in the body, you get three different types of fat. You get a fat that basically the body can't break down and it stores. You get a fat that is basically toxicity buildup in the body, and therefore the body retains that caloric content in the body and the blood, and therefore stores it in specific places as cushioning, etc. And then you get fat that can be easily changed with exercise and diet. And this is what we're going to touch on in this video. So, Ethan, could you express to us perhaps not the word diet, but perhaps the word living well, and how that matters to a person looking to maintain a good, healthy body weight structure?
Amazing question, Kiara. And we touch on it a lot. It doesn't matter what the topic of conversation is. And it's the number one thing, and that is investing in your health. And you and I, we consider ourselves purists. What we consume, no matter if it's mental, emotional, physical, we want to get the best quality nutrients, whatever that form that comes in, into our body and into our system. So if we're eating unhealthy foods, of course, the body's going to be storing it because it doesn't know where to put the excess fats. And yeah, just such an incredible experience to see the levels of body fat. Of course, females and males have different percentages. Going from the natural perspective, you meant to have a certain amount, but that's what we're talking about when we talk about mono and polyunsaturated fats. Those are the healthy fats, and those you definitely get in there inside the system. They have to be sourced from outer parts. So again, you're investing in your health and wellness. So polyunsaturated fats, Kiara, you've been touching on it. Basically, they surround the cells of the nerves, and it's a protective measure. So you talked about the brain functionality there. Certainly, it's a beautiful aspect because our body runs on those glucose and those important fats, and we burn a lot of calories throughout the day. So yeah, when we talk about investing in our health, we've of course got to get rid of the old gunk. So you got to get rid of the old gunk in order to invite new ones in. We are definite believers in plaque buildup inside the body as a whole. We also like to call it mucus congestion of the piping system. So it's the body's defense mechanism to these unnatural and synthetic things that are coming into our body. Our body's so intelligent, it surrounds that, and because we're not sweating enough or detoxifying enough, it has to store it somewhere. And that somewhere comes up as osteoarthritis in the hands, and in the neck, we've got joint problems, and we've got inflammation that comes up. So those two healthy fats certainly help to balance out and replenish and renourish those kinds of predispositions, inflammation and heart disease, etc., etc.
Absolutely incredible. Thank you for sharing that. And as you just said, heart disease, where does heart disease and diabetes come from? So diabetes, right, comes from multiple sources, actually. So people think that diabetes is mostly sugar attributed. Well, if the body and the liver doesn't process fats properly, then it converts those fats into glucose, which then is sugar, increasing insulin levels in the blood, and the pancreas increasing insulin levels in the blood. And therefore, we're finding that even high fat can cause high cholesterol issues and therefore high diabetic issues. Now, we have fat, we have carbohydrates, we have protein. If too high protein, and if your body has too high protein and too high carbohydrates and too high sugar, too high fat, it's going to convert all of that into a sugar-like glucose energy on the inside, not the processed glucose, but it's going to convert that into glucose in your body, which is going to spike your insulin. And each one of those will have a different effect on the way that the body then starts to become diabetic. And that's where we have to look out for very specifically saturated fats that are high in LDL cholesterol, which are unhealthy fats that then clog up the arteries and your veins, your vascular system, as Etan mentioned on the previous video. Go and check it up right there, right now. Is the cloggage in the piping system of the body, and if we're clogging that body, we're not allowing oxygenating flow. We're not allowing our blood flow. We're slowing the process of the body down. On top of it, it's got already abrasive erosion happening within the system. Organs perhaps considering to fail because there's too much of gunk and stuff in the body for it to process. So if you look at the way the liver processes fatty acids, that's why too high protein can cause toxicity. So if you've got a little bit of a distended stomach, the first two stomachs that I said, a distended stomach and a stomach that is excess. So you get a stomach from alcohol, as an example. That is one form of stomach where you got basically too much toxic pressure on the liver, and the liver can't build and regenerate, therefore it can't cleanse and process your fatty acids properly. And fatty acids, it needs to help it build to an extent, but oversaturation of fatty acids, not specifically only saturated fatty acids, transsaturated fatty acids and monounsaturated fatty acids are actually there to build the liver content, but the liver will convert that into unhealthy waste, which then distend, and it pushes out bile into the stomach and the open areas of the body, which then basically starts to cause erosion on your other organs, which then obviously doesn't help somebody's healing process. Now, obviously, when we look at the function of these fats, the function of the fats really is to give us high energy value and high energy content. Now, to give us high energy content, plus feed our brain, plus nourish our skin, hair, and nails, this is absolutely phenomenal. And you would generally find that you would need unsaturated fatty acids that are that come from your food-based substances. So olives, as an example, are high in good healthy fats. Avocados, seeds, nuts, all of these beautiful things. So where you get the body converting that caloric energy is obviously where the body is requiring to stay functioned and multiple processing in its energy. So it not only uses it for energy, but it stores it as well. But the body has to have a storing mechanism where it protects the body, lowers inflammation, and rather doesn't cause disease. Could you talk to us a little bit about how you find fat helps the body at specific times of the year? Let's think about nature and the way that nature uses it and seasons of plants.
Yeah, definitely. I definitely want to cover that. I want to be more specific and elaborate what you're saying there, Kiara. Male and female, they both respond in different ways, and they store their fat in different ways. And you'll find that gentlemen tend to have a distended stomach a lot more than what females do, and that's naturally where men store the majority of their fat. And then, of course, going bigger and bigger and bigger, it has to find places to put it. But for the most part, in our gastrointestinal tract, that's exactly where men mainly store their fats. Females, they store their fat in their arms, their skin, their hips, their bum, all of that, and that's a protective measure for the baby. Going through that gestation period, obviously females pick up a little bit on weight, and it's stored around those areas, and that's a protective measure. Nature does that. So looping back to your question there, it certainly does make a difference when the body stores it. Our body is so intelligent that it does want to hold on to fats, because when it's cold, our body gets constricted and it starts to tighten. And that's why people with inflammation and all kinds of pain problems tend to feel the pain more in winter. So we definitely want to be assisting the body by inviting in those two main healthy food fat groups, poly and mono unsaturated fats. That's an important thing. You look at nature, a bear goes, oh, okay, I'm hibernating. And, you know, a couple of other species do that, but they basically hoard their food, and they use that as energy throughout the winter to get through the winter. And if they don't have enough fat in their system before the winter comes, then they are at risk of losing their lives. So yeah, that's definitely the one thing. And then in summer, so just the two, you know, very basic, summer, winter. Summer is an incredible thing to get to experience, because it's hotter. We're naturally sweating more, and we have to get rid of that excess fat storage or toxins that have been built up over that period of time of us consuming. So summer, naturally, because it's 33 degrees outside, we're sweating a whole lot more, and that sweat contains toxins and fat molecules and, you know, all kinds of different molecules that the skin is getting rid of. That's why we smell the way that we smell, because there's different molecules inside the system, inside the sweat glands, and of course our bloodstream. So yeah, that's a big topic there. Nice, love that.
Fantastic. Thank you for sharing that. So if we look at omega-3 fatty acids, there's different versions there. They come from different sources. As we've previously said, there is EPA, which is eicosapentaenoic acid, mainly found in fish. Then you got DHA, which is docosahexaenoic acid, also found in fish. And then you got CLA, which is conjugated linolenic acid, which is found mostly in plant material, seeds, and nuts. And this is a place where you actually want to use the highest beneficial factors of CLA to benefit you, because CLA is a much more higher absorbable fat, because it comes from a plant-based source. It's much more easily recognized in the body. Now, why? Because we aren't plants, but we also use photosynthesis in our bodies to help our bodies grow and restore and rejuvenate. Hence us being in the sun. And not everybody in the world has the skin type or the genetics to actually be in the sun for too long, but still small doses of the sun for those individuals are great. But a lot of other individuals really benefit greatly from being in the sun daily. And being in the sun daily means that you're getting that vitamin D3 very specifically, which is also helping your skin become more glowing. It's also helping fat absorption, because you're helping your vitamin K absorption in the body. And vitamin K absorption in the body is super powerful and beneficial for our teeth. So teeth and bones. So we have to be recognizing that fats are important, very important. 13 grams is about the limit according to standards across the FDA and so on, and those boards, excuse the pun. But basically 13 grams is around the average. And I'm going to say to you, it's also dependent on your body mass, your body size, your body weight, the way you exercise, the way you sleep, the way you recover, and the way that you find you can consume food without feeling sluggish, because heavy fat foods can be also extraordinarily rich. If you think of ice cream, I mean, I love ice cream. I could eat ice cream for days, but like even this little bit of coconut milk that I'm swallowing down here, you can see how how slowly I'm drinking it. I mean, I would have finished water in no time. This is very rich on the body, and you can feel it is a very beautiful satiating reaction in the body. I can feel my brain is very active, very well nourished right now. But if you're looking at how that what fat does to the body, and if you have fat with sugar, my goodness, it's even worse. But fat also spikes the brain activity and drops the brain activity, and this is especially high saturated foods. So Etan, talk to us about the importance of omega-3 for skin and for brain health and things like dementia and Alzheimer's, please.
Yeah, I mean, you also touched on it. You know, the healthy fats are more liquid in their nature, therefore the body is able to easily process it. Where you have things like trans fats that solidify at room temperature, and you know, that's congestion, that's mucus, and yeah. So to answer your question about that, you know, polyunsaturated fats mostly hold omega-3s and 6s. And, you know, those assist with inflammatory responses in the body, of course, muscle movement and heart disease and all the rest. So when we talk about brain functionality, Kiara, you know, omegas play an important role, an essential role, excuse me, excuse the pun. But yeah, omega-7, you said, is really good for brain functionality. You have MCT oil there as well. Yeah, it's good. But yeah, monounsaturated fats, I mean, as good as olive oil is, that's helping brain functionality, and that serves a purpose in many different functions in the body, but brain functionality being one of them. So, you know, as well as proteins and what have you are there, glucose, fats, proteins, they all support the brain functionality. So when we consume things like trans fats, you touched on it, Kiara, processed foods, well, trans fats, let me take it a step back. Trans fats basically go through a process called hydrogenation. Oh, okay, that's a tongue twister for me. Hydrogenation. Oh my gosh, you know what I mean. So
you said it right.
Yeah, yeah, from that perspective, that process has actually been banned in most countries, but it's still so prominent everywhere. And you could get away with anything that's below 0.5 grams of trans fats inside an ingredient, and it won't be considered an unhealthy fat. But yeah, Kiara, you get those in ice creams, you get those in dairy products and meat products. That hydrogenation is basically an isolation of certain cells, and it's helping as a preservative in the body. So we're going back to the brain now. If you have those unhealthy foods and toxins and fats, that's definitely going to slow down the system. Therefore, our brain functionality, our focus is out, mental clarity is out, and so much more. So just be careful of trans fats and saturated fats when you're shopping. Don't be a labelholic, but you really do need to get used to reading labels and knowing what's in those ingredients, you know. Yeah, got many different preservative measures, but yeah, things like citric acid are highly toxic for the body, and therefore the brain is receiving that. The pineal gland and the pituitary gland just below it, those control all the chemical messages being sent through the remainder of the body. And if your brain and those two organs are not functioning at optimum level, of course, there's this sluggishness, there's this misalignment with where it is that nourishment is going within the body. So we talk about storage again. The body doesn't quite know what to do with these unnatural and synthetic processed chemicals. So it has to wedge it somewhere. Again, because we believe that we're going to the bathroom maybe twice, maybe sometimes 3 times a day, that we're actually getting rid of all of our food. No. It gets broken down, get distributed within the body and bloodstream, and the remaining fiber and protein is left over, and that's what gets excreted outside of the body.
Absolutely incredible information there. Can you tell us what you believe one of the best sources of healthy fats are from, and why, please?
Well, it's the very definition that SynerChi Organics started. Kiara, you and I are hugely passionate about hemp, and hemp hearts that we distribute, they're actually called hulled hemp seeds. Hemp hearts, we like to call them because they're so good for the heart, as well as the brain and the rest of the functionality in the body. So yeah, definitely that's a very good source of essential fatty acids inside the body. And yeah, that serves as brain functionality, liver functionality, kidneys, and of course the remainder of the organs. You ask me, okay, how does that serve purpose with the skin? The skin is basically our outermost layer. It's the boundary of our physical bodies. And our skin is interacting with this outer realm continuously, hence excretion. But if we're excreting sweat, we have to be consuming oxygen, toxins, metals, all kinds of things. Even the clothes that you wear, if they've got toxic chemicals on them, you are absorbing those toxic chemicals. Things like sun cream. You know, we like to think, oh, let's protect ourselves from the sun. No, let's protect ourselves from the unnatural sunscreens. Please, let's do that. Let's start to make sure that we know what it is that we're putting on our skin, not just the trust that it looks pretty as a label and that it's there to serve us protecting the skin. So yeah, Kiara, I mean, hemp protein serves many incredible functions. It's one of the greatest sources I personally find it from. It makes my nails healthy. It makes my skin healthy. My hair turns healthy. My bones actually feel healthier. So when you've got the stability of your body feeling healthier, then of course it trickles down into the remainder of the body. You can get these fats from many different types of things. Mr. David Avocado Wolf, he calls himself avocado because he knows that there are so many important minerals, fatty acids, all kinds of beautiful minerals that are going to be serving the body. So that is one. Olive oil is another one. Coconut oil, virgin coconut oil is incredible. Don't cook with it because that tends to become carcinogenic if it turns out too hard in the system. But when you go do your research about the healthy fats, the first thing they're going to say is get it from your veggies. The first thing people warn you about with the unhealthy fats is stay away from the meat and dairy products. So the more you consume of that, the more you're piling on that toxicity inside the body. So just be aware of the unhealthy fats and the healthy fats.
Wonderful. Thank you for that. Appreciate it. So I think there was one thing that I wanted you to touch on as well, was the omega-3, 6, and 9 in hemp. That is a 3:1:1 ratio, which is the perfect ratio of omega-3, 6, and 9 in a 3:1:1 ratio for the body. And hemp has that 100% naturally. So not only does hemp have the perfect balance of healthy fatty acids, but it also has the perfect balance of protein, which is a complete protein. So very interesting that hemp is one of the healthiest foods that we could eat on this planet. And that is exactly why SynerChi Organics started our business out with hemp seeds, whole hemp hearts, hemp protein, and built the business growing with those beautiful molecules. So absolutely incredible energy there. And hemp is one of our most favorite and most beautiful. I would definitely rate avocado and coconut oil up there too. So Itan, coconut oil is the safest oil to cook with, but it still becomes carcinogenic at too high temperatures. So it's the safest oil. Like you're not supposed to cook with olive oil. All of these oils are supposed to be had cold as virgin oils. So that is very important. Yeah. So the most important thing that I believe that we need to know here is now what we understand those fats. We understand that we have visceral fat, which is basically the excess weight on the belly because of the liver toxicity and the liver not being able to process fats and convert them into ready to use energies, which then means that it stores that fat in the body. So that's the one version. Now, the other version of this is if you have a little bit of an excess skin, so per se, at the bottom of your stomach, that is generally an easier fat to help the body get rid of, because if the liver is in high toxicity, then we need to recognize that we have to heal the liver first, fast, to help reduce the quantity of fat that the body actually has. So intermittent fasting, building up to regular, more timeous and controlled fasting will help the body to reduce its fat content. But actually, this needs to be done in conjunction with the weight loss, weight management programs. So it's not only your diet and your eating, it's the way that we exercise as well. Now, I want to say to you guys and to this beautiful community that I exercise on a daily basis. I follow the Thenx app, and I use the Thenx app just as a foundational model. I always push myself further and beyond because that's something that you need to listen to in your own body. But doing exercises, especially with a little bit of extra weight on the stomach, that's fantastic. You will lose that weight, fantastically so. But to help the body repair its liver first, that's a whole nother long process, and that is a lifestyle change. Our community, you need to recognize that is a lifestyle change. You need to start right now changing. If you have diabetes, if you have diabetes, obesity, high fat content, exactly. You need to start now. Don't waste time. Don't say it's going to be a New Year's resolution where you start. You need to know that the sooner you start, the better and more action your body's going to have to heal. Because the more damage you do, the longer the damage lasts for, the longer it's going to take you to heal and repair. That's a fact. Go check it out. And basically what I'm saying to you is that you need to moderate that with exercise. Now, high intensity exercise, ab crunchies, twists, Russian twists, toe touches, mountain climbers, bicycles, all kinds of these things that really crunch the ab area, planks and side planks. These things are going to help the body to reduce that excess fat around that area, therefore starting to look healthier and more lean, and therefore also building muscle, which is lowering inflammation in the body. So, Etan, do you have any last points you'd like to share on this video before we close off this chapter?
Yes, I would love to, please. I mean, we can always share, Kiara. I mean, there's so much that we have to express, fitness being one of those roles in it, but of course, nutrition being the key role here, and investing in your health and wellness. So earlier we mentioned the pineal gland, the pituitary gland, those two being the main ones that control the rest of the chemicals down there. We have our thyroid, which sits here. That relates to the taurine energy, but it's analogous to the liver as well. And what you're saying is the liver does process a lot of different molecules, but fat being one of them. And the more fat we have in our system, the more the liver is processing fat continuously. Therefore, it can't get rid of it. So you touched on it. The one thing is giving the organs a break. Because our cells regenerate continuously, each organ has a different time frame in which they completely regenerate their cells. And generally, overall speaking, within 2 years, you've got a completely new body. Like a snake sheds its skin, we similarly do that, internally and externally. So we're always shedding skin layers, hair layers, all that kind of jazz. That's definitely the one thing. So try intermittent fasting. Well, don't try, attempt it. And if you seemingly fail it, do it again, and be persistent with it. That's also with exercise. If you're not used to exercising, certainly you're going to be in a position where you have to train your mind to become consistent and persistent with that. So the same applies with fasting. The quickest and surest way of healing a body is by fasting and having specific tonics or teas or minerals or tissue salts that would complement that fast, that will help flush the system out. That's why we're big on stinging nettle and dandelion root tea or dandelion tea as such, because dandelion tea focuses on that liver cura, like you keep reiterating there. So that's going to do that liver flush for you, that dandelion tea. So that's just one part of it, but I actually do want to touch on this beautiful word.